Well, there it is. I don't know, overcast New York. They said it was 80 degrees at one point yesterday. I don't know. Not loving New York. Glad I'm not there anymore. Glad I'm in beautiful South Florida. Hey, folks, welcome back. Happy Monday. Coming up later in the show, real important guest, House Judiciary Chairman, Ohio Representative Jim Jordan, who'll join us to talk about the left-wing activist judges who are trying to stop President Trump from removing illegal migrant criminals from the U.S. and so much more. There's a whole group of activist judges that are trying to just disrupt the Trump presidency. Jim Jordan, the House Judiciary Committee, is going to look into that and see what they can do. What can they do? Can you remove judges? Do we have to be impeached, which they could do? Or can they just remove them because they may be not unconstitutional? Let's call it that way. We'll have Jim Jordan coming up in just a few minutes. But first, Jasmine Crockett. Jazzy Jasmine Crockett, someone's got to do something about her. She needs to be contained. Her arrogance and ignorance make national headlines every week, but her racism is unlike anything we've seen before from an elected official. She's so open about her feelings with no filter whatsoever. She's never condemned or disciplined by her own party, her own group, or anyone on the left, which continues to enable her, almost encourage her to say whatever she wants at all times. Byron Donalds was her latest target. Congressman from Florida, maybe the next governor of Florida, who knows? Byron Donalds is Jasmine Crockett's latest target, and she had plenty to say about his personal life after learning that Byron Donalds is married to a white woman.
And if we continue to put people into office, and that even means some of our skinfolk who definitely are not our kinfolk, such as Byron Donalds, who are going to continue to say that, like, I mean, the fact that you sitting around talking about life was better under Jim Crow, like, is this because you don't understand history? Or literally it's because you married a white woman and so you think that that whitewashed you. I'm not really sure, like, what it is.
Well, but I need to be married to a white woman under Jim
Correct. And it took Joy to call him out. So I'm like, bro, like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you saying? Like, he just out here, you know, I feel like they give him his talking points and he's like, yes, master, I got it.
Like, listen, Jazz, that is the most racist thing you can say. You can say a lot of things, but you're not allowed to judge people by the color of their skin. That's what we've been told. That's racism. African Americans have been pushing to stop that kind of rhetoric for 50 years. And who are you now to say Byron Donalds doesn't deserve to be in Congress because what do you call him? Uncle Tom? Is that what you called him? Because he has a white wife? What's wrong with you? He doesn't agree with your stance on immigration, with your stance on really anything. You're horrible. You're a horrible human being. You're a racist. You're the one who should be censored or thrown out. The issue with people like Jasmine Crockett, though, is that they're never, ever corrected. They have no reason to stop doing what they're doing. Nobody would dare to tell that woman that she's absolutely wrong about everything she says. In fact, they won't tell her she's wrong about anything simply because it's not worth hearing a chaotic and aggressive counter-argument. Whether she's factually correct or incorrect doesn't matter. This woman is always wrong about something, just like when she said that she suggested that illegals contribute billions to our economy.
To be clear, undocumented folk contribute approximately $100 billion in taxes. They pay into Social Security and they don't get to draw down on it. So stop, again, allowing them to divide us and to demonize them.
I'm just going to leave it there. No, they don't. They don't pay taxes. That's insanity. Absolute insanity, Jasmine Jazz Crockett. Again, let's debate anytime. Your topics, my camera, anywhere you want to do this. We'll get a huge audience. I have a serious question. Do the radical Democrats, do they even work? I know some of them, yoga instructors, baristas, and of course, fifth grade teachers that show their students drag queen hours. But seriously, how do these lunatics always have so much free time? A pack of libs had the time to go and dance in perfect sync outside of a Tesla dealership. Watch this. Yeah. So, first of all, how hideous these people look dancing like that. They look like absolute ridiculous idiots doing line dance outside the Tesla. But You know, they've got to be paid. Someone's paying them to do this. I'm guessing a George Soros-funded group. I'm guessing. Could be wrong, but I think it's probably one of those. That's what they do. These people are the most deranged members of our society. They all have, I don't know, TDs, but they're actually suffering from not only Trump derangement syndrome, but Tesla derangement syndrome as well, as they've shifted their hatred from Trump temporarily to Elon Musk. A bunch of these freaks dressed up as, get this, flaming cyber trucks, because that's a totally normal way to spend the weekend. Look at these folks here. Now, we need that music too. We need that music too. We can't get it, but it's funny. It's actually funny. They're playing some hip hop. Actually, kind of creative. Give them credit for that, even though the basis for it is ridiculous. Despite what the Democrats tell you, Trump's approval ratings are still good and rising across the board. Now, this must be very difficult for them, but listen to ABC actually admit that part.
This is a story about balance, and the things that are going well in the public mind for him is his handling of immigration, which is still net positive, and his deportation program is still net positive and popular.
Of course it is. Everything's going his way right now. Everything's going Trump's way right now. And all to have a 50-50 overall approval rating at this point is amazing. It's massive. It's very successful. And then you saw 58-42. They agree with his immigration policy because Tom Homan is absolutely killing it. And by the way, Tom Homan absolutely silenced. Now, this is funny. The tweet that we found this said Tom Homan silenced Karl Rove when he asked about deportations. It was actually silenced ABC's John Karl when John Karl asked about deportation. But listen to Homan just wipe the floor with this guy.
Do they get a chance to prove that before you take them out of the country and put them into a notorious prison in a country that they're not even from? I mean, do they have any due process at all?
Confident. Look, due process. Where was Lake and Ronnie's due process? Where were all these young women that were killed and raped by members of TDA? Where was their due process?
Well, the people that did that should be prosecuted.
On a subway, where's her due process?
Well, sure.
The bottom line is that plane was full of people designated as terrorists, number one. Number two, every Venezuelan migrant on that flight was a TDA member based on numerous criminal investigations, on intelligence reports, and a lot of work.
Tom Homan's doing a great job. Doing a wonderful job, and that's why Trump's approval rating is as high as it is right now. Okay, Tampon Tim Walz, right? We know that this guy's a lunatic. The reason why he's called Tampon Tim, because he is the governor of Minnesota and required all the men's bathrooms in his state, public schools, men's bathrooms in his state to have tampons for some stupid reason. Well, he's got a daughter who's as much of a leftist progressive lunatic as Tampon Tim is himself. His daughter is passing up an opportunity to go to graduate school because the university that accepted her refuses to protect student protesters. And listen to this very much garbage about what she calls herself. Listen.
I got into grad school. I will not be attending starting this fall, though, and I will no longer be attending the university that I originally applied for. I applied for one school. I kind of had my heart set on it. That's what I wanted to do. I'm not going to name the institution, but given recent events, I am not going to give my money, go into debt for support institutions that don't support their students and their right to protest and, speak out for their communities. That's just not where I'm at. Students deserve to be protected. I'm not worried about if I were to be protected or not at said institution. I'm, privileged white woman, but I'm not going to put myself in a position, where I...
She's a privileged white woman. You know what? I am so sick of this. I'm so tired of just, honestly, support. Just don't call it white privilege if you're white, please, for God's sake. Don't be a wussy. I almost said the other word. All right, now, former CIA covert operations officer and host of the President's Daily Brief podcast, by the way, very, very popular podcast. If you don't listen to it, you should. Mike Baker is here. Really good to have you back again, Mike Baker. So I'm watching all this stuff go on over the weekend. I'm watching these Tesla dealerships, get torched. Can we somehow, and we have Jim Jordan coming up right behind you, and I'm hoping that we're going to bring this up with him as well, but somehow, can we call these people domestic terrorists finally? Can we? And what's it going to take?
Well, I think they've been referred to as domestic terrorists, and the actions that they're taking, whether it's firebombing or shooting up a facility, blowing up a supercharger, vandalizing vehicles. I think it falls squarely in the realm of domestic terrorism because they're trying to influence through violence. And that is traditionally the test for whether something falls in that category or not. What can we do about it? Well, it's kind of like every other bit of bad behavior. You got to have consequences. So, again, I think some convictions and some jail time for those that are found guilty would probably go some ways towards changing the behavior. Yeah.
Mike, the other thing that happened over the weekend, I was watching Sunday night. Last night, Trump flew from Palm Beach, West Palm, where we are here, back to D.C. And at Joint Base Andrews, he had reporters gaggle. And one of the things he was talking about was Putin and Zelensky. Now, all of a sudden, Zelensky says he's not so sure he wants to do part of the minerals deal. And it may actually hinge on the United States allowing him the ability to get into NATO. And my point to you is, a former CIA, tell us what's going on. This stuff that goes on behind the scenes, are they going to get a deal? Is there going to be peace, or is this just jockeying and maybe wait for 4 years until Trump's out of office and they go at it again?
Yeah, I think from Putin's perspective, he would love to just kind of keep dragging his feet, right? The minerals deal is what it is. The White House did change some of their thoughts on it. And, so I think there was some lack of coordination between those two sides, the Ukrainians and the White House, once the White House decided they were going to set down some additional terms on that deal. I do think it's a good move if they can get something done, because, again, it provides it goes some ways towards the security guarantee in its own way, right? It's not boots on the ground, but there is some element there that would provide some security going forward. The issue with Putin, look, he feels he's in the driver's seat right now, right? Even though his economy is heading south, his wartime economy is awful, right? They're spending about 41% of their budget on the war, right? About 8% of their entire GDP is going towards the war. And that's not sustainable over the long term. So if you can crank up the sanctions or the tariffs, as President Trump is putting it, then that is probably the only bit of leverage, short of providing more advanced weapon systems and trying to ramp up leverage on a military basis. Mm-hmm. But the economic side of things, I think that's got the best chance of pushing Putin to the table, because right now he's not really serious about this. He says, I want, maybe we can find a limited peace agreement. That's not his game plan, right? He wants to drag this out.
So I only have about a minute or so. The other reason why we really wanted you today, Elon Musk is going to visit the CIA today.
Yeah.
I assume to talk about potential Doge cuts or where they could or shouldn't happen. What are your thoughts on this? What do you think what he should and shouldn't do with the CIA?
Yeah, I think this is really interesting. Look, John Ratcliffe, the CIA director, invited him to come over and talk primarily about, not in sources and methods, not sensitive information, but to talk about what the agency does, and importantly, the costs involved, right? And so what I think they're looking to do is say, we understand, like every other bureaucratic organization within the government, we're going to have to affect some cuts, right? And they understand that, and they're making plans to do that. But I think they want Doge to understand that not every government organization is the same. And the CIA is at the pointy edge of the spear here in terms of protecting national security interests. So I think this is more about trying to set the table so that, as President Trump has just recently said, Elon Musk and Doge uses a scalpel now going forward rather than a sledgehammer.
Great. And there was a really good comment earlier on Fox. It's a former CIA person said, you got to be careful because a lot of the money that the CIA spends is for, basically paying for information, and it's very cheap versus an actual military operation with kinetic assets. Right. So it's actually money well spent. So hopefully maybe we don't drain too much of the CIA budget, if anything at all. Mike Baker, really good having you. I appreciate your time. Again, folks, President's Daily Brief, a great podcast to listen to. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks so much, Eric. Take care.
All right, folks, coming up, House Judiciary Chair Jim Jordan joins us. We'll be right back. Look at that, live in Stowe, Vermont. By the way, if you ski and ski in the east, you ski on ice. If you ski in Colorado or the west, Montana, you ski on snow, sometimes powder. It's so bloody cold in Vermont and other places up north, Massachusetts and Maine. Ski in Maine, it's just like an ice ball. Sunday's River. All right, guys. By the way, there's a huge meeting tomorrow. Committee meeting tomorrow in the House, on the House side. Jim Jordan is heading the House Judiciary Committee. They're going to look into activist judges. Now, Colin, do we have Jim? You can get on Voice of God. Do we have Jim Jordan? Is he in the seat and ready to go yet? I got to hear you, though.
Yes, he is, sir.
He's ready to go? All right, well, let's bring in that man, the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Chairman Jim Jordan, who is also represents the 4th District of Ohio. Chairman Jordan, really good to have you on. Thank you for coming on. Good to have you back, my friend, on shows. I love doing TV with you. You're the best, really, right there. Yeah. Everyone in Ohio and America should be thrilled that they're looking at that man as the Judiciary Chairman, Jim Jordan. Thank you for being with us. So these activist judges, specifically Boasberg now, feels like Merchan when they were going through the law affair with Trump. But Boasberg is now, how does Boasberg have the power to block the presidency?
Well, this is something we're going to change. And we passed legislation out of the committee 4 weeks ago that will be on the House floor Wednesday. And the legislation says just what you described, some district judge, federal district judge, unelected federal district judge, can't issue an injunction that applies nationwide. If our legislation would pass, the injunction would only apply to the parties in the case in that respective jurisdiction. We think that is a good thing. We passed this bill, like I said, 4 weeks ago out of the committee, and the Speaker and the leader are putting it on the floor this week. And then tomorrow, that'll be on Wednesday, that bill. Tomorrow, we're having a hearing where we talk about this in the broader sense. We're bringing in experts. We're going to have former Speaker Newt Gingrich as one of our witnesses. We're going to have a lady, Miss Ramiro from Aurora, Colorado, who saw what it was like with trendy Aragua gang members in her community, what they did to her, what they did to her neighbors, her community, her city. So we think that'll be an important hearing where we can begin to highlight just how serious it was. And this judge's decision, as you mentioned, Judge Boasberg, who said, turn the plane around, bring the hardened criminals back to America who were here illegally, turn it around and bring the bad guys back, made absolutely no sense.
Yeah, no sense. I think most of America, even some Democrats, I'm guessing the independents, all conservatives, and some even Democrats would say, we don't want those people. Don't turn that plane around. But here's a question. So an activist judge, do these types of judges, do these federally appointed, not elected, appointed judges, do they need to be impeached to be removed? Or is there some sort of, I don't know, constitutional way to remove a judge who's overreaching his bounds?
Well, we've got resolutions that are filed to do that from some of our members with some of these judges and the decisions they've made going after, executive orders from President Trump. What I've said is I think everything should be on the table. We should evaluate this, and we should use every lever we have in the legislative branch. So we should do oversight, which is what we're doing tomorrow with this hearing, where we talk about what's going on. We get a handle up, we bring in experts. We should pass legislation like we're going to do on Wednesday, send it to the Senate. Senator Hawley's got a similar bill that he's introduced. And then frankly, and the Speaker talked about this last week, we should look at the appropriations process, the power of the purse. And as the Speaker indicated last week, we create these lower court judges in our federal system. There's the Supreme Court, but there's all these circuits and district judges, et cetera, that we've created these positions that the executive branch then nominates and they get filled. So we have that leverage as well. What I'm saying is let's use all of those tools to make sure that there's respect for a separate and equal branch of government, the executive branch, of course, headed by President Trump.
Yeah, and Chairman, I know how this is going to go. We've been doing this a long time. You'll do it. You'll probably get the Senate and board or some sort of mashup of the two proposals, and then it'll go to Trump, and then you'll get sued. They'll get sued. Trump will get sued, and it will end up in the Supreme Court's hands. Frankly, I'm a little nervous about John Roberts and quite a bit nervous lately about with Coney Barrett. So constitutionally, can these activist judges who are clearly overstepping their bounds, and in cases like Boasberg, likely with conflicted interests as well, you think that the Supreme Court will rule in your favor? I hope they do.
Well, the other thing we're looking at, I do too, and some of these cases I think are going to get to the Supreme Court. The other thing we're looking at is maybe legislatively we go with some expedited review. So if some lower court judge says some order or some injunction, we would get to a 3-judge panel in an expedited fashion. We're looking at that on the legislative side. But in the end, I think what really gets their attention is the money, the appropriations. Now, look, we don't want to take away any money that would jeopardize the security of judges. We all saw what happened to Justice Kavanaugh after the Dobbs opinion was leaked a few years ago. And we want to make sure Americans get, ready access to justice and quickly get that. But there are things I think we could look at on the appropriation side. And then, as the speaker indicated, the actual position itself is something that he said we have the authority to create and deal with. He's exactly right on that. So I think all that, again, should be on the table as we evaluate what's happened, because everyone knows President Trump has had disproportionate number of judges, decisions go against him, injunctions against him, and executive orders that he's issued. So it's a concern, and that's why we're having the hearing tomorrow and why we're passing the legislation.
Well, the idea and the facts, now that we know that these are facts, that Judge Boasberg's daughter ran an NGO, 501c3, that actually used USAID money to hide and house illegals, sometimes criminal illegals, from being deported. The conflict of interest is insane on this one.
Yeah, I think that'll be brought up by some of our members. I think what's also, I think, important is Judge Boasberg's history. He was on the FISA court when the warrants were approved to spy on President Trump's campaign, the whole Trump-Russia collusion baloney that took place 8-9 years ago. He was the judge who oversaw the Kevin Kleinsmith case. Kevin Kleinsmith, of course, was the FBI lawyer who lied to the FISA court as part of the Trump-Russia collusion case, lied to the court and was given a slap on the wrist by Judge Boasberg. Not my words. Those are the words of the Wall Street Journal, said that this guy, a member of the bar, lies to a court and basically got a little probationary slap on the wrist, for goodness sake. So that's Judge Boasberg's history. He also has a history that's not too, I think, a little questionable relative to this Ray Epps guy in January 6th. So that's his history. And then you add to it that decision a couple of weeks ago where he said, turn the plane around, bring the bad guys back. And you start to wonder if this guy is a politically focused judge going against President Trump. And I think that'll come out in tomorrow's hearing as well.
And somehow the same bozo judge gets the other lawsuit that Trump is facing right now, Trump administration is facing.
Randomly assigned.
Randomly assigned. This guy gets the one where they're suing Trump and Pete Hegseth and the vice president on the Signal chat that got leaked. Quick thought on that. And by the way, folks, if you don't watch Jim Jordan open that hearing tomorrow, you're out of your mind. It's going to be hot. I know it is. He's great at this stuff. So quick thought on the randomness of this. What's
I mean, so some judges better able to decide who the Secretary of Defense can talk to and how he has to do it, not the commander in chief. I mean, that's what this comes down to, it seems to me. So, yeah, I think that issue will come up as well in the hearing tomorrow. And this will be a unique hearing because we're actually doing two subcommittees jointly. It'll be the court subcommittee chaired by Representative Issa, whose bill is going to be passed, as we talked about earlier on Wednesday on the floor. Representative Roy, who chairs our subcommittee on the Constitution. And then, of course, I'll be there as well. But it'll be a unique setup tomorrow where we're focusing on the two subcommittees to deal with the Constitution and, of course, the courts, which we thought was the appropriate way to structure this hearing.
Great to have you. Appreciate your time. Chairman Jim Jordan, love to get you back again soon. Thank you, sir.
We will. Thank you, Eric. Take care.
All right, folks. Before we head to break, I just wanted to remind you about my podcast and YouTube page, which are both updated daily with unique content, stuff I don't say here, stuff I'm not allowed to say on TV, but we still have a lot of fun over there. We'll let you hear the show and tons of other content anytime, anywhere, but you got to be sure to subscribe to that YouTube channel and the podcast. Don't miss out. We'll be right back. 2 minutes. All right, folks, DOJ has found that illegals are receiving Social Security numbers, which means they're getting benefits meant for American citizens, and we pay for them. Here to discuss is editor of the Gateway Pundit, Joe Hoft. Joe, good to see you again, my friend, long time. So this was really, really interesting. Before we do this, let's play the soundbite of Elon Musk talking about exactly this. I believe it was in Wisconsin, where they're trying to make sure Wisconsin stays conservative with their Supreme Court. Listen.
Is what jumped out at us. When we saw these numbers, we were like, what is this? In 21, you see 270,000 people, goes all the way to 2.1 million in 24. These are non-citizens that are getting Social Security numbers.
Yeah, this is a mind-blowing chart.
Yeah, just this literally blew us away. Like, we went there to find fraud, and we found this by accident. And this isn't political, by the way. My parents are immigrants. Yeah, this country's been great to us. My brother and sister are all born in Spain. I'm pro-legal immigration. This is not political. This is not political. This is about America and the future of America.
And so, John, 2.1 million illegals. 2.1 million illegals are non-citizen getting Social Security benefits. Got to stop, brother. Joe.
Yeah, it's shocking. Yeah. Thanks, Eric. Great seeing you again. Yeah, I wrote 3 books on the 2024 steal and using my auditing background. So I'm excited to see this because basically this is what they're doing. DOJ is auditing the government and they're finding all sorts of trillions of dollars really of waste. So right up my alley. I was a corporate auditor around the world, did audits in China even. I even asked in China for documents and they gave them to me. In our U.S. elections today, they're not even going to provide you the information. They're going to tell you have to get some sort of request or you're just not allowed to look at this stuff. So as we started digging into it, and I did in my books, we found all sorts of stuff like this. This is just the tip of the iceberg. There's states now that have what's called motor voter roll sign up. Basically, if you go in and get a driver's license, it doesn't matter who you are. You can be an illegal alien like these guys noted last night, and you're automatically, your name's getting funneled to the voter roll for that state. Florida has that, for example. And so does California. There's a study in California that we've looked at over the last, I'd say, year. Somebody brought it to my attention. And again, I looked at it, reviewed it, et cetera. There's estimates just due to this voter motor program. There's 3.8 million people in California alone on their voter rolls that are illegals, that were not born in the United States. So this is happening across the country. And it's a big deal. And these guys just stumbled on it per their work, and it's great work. And it's amazing. So they said 270,000 people got Social Security numbers, illegals that got them back in 21. This latest year, 2.1 million people. So we're probably looking around more than 5 million that they've identified, people that have Social Security numbers. And then they were able to tie these to voter rolls. And they did indeed see that some of these people voted in the most recent election. So as Elon has been saying for a long time now, he believes this is what's behind it. It's about getting these people to vote, change the landscape, the culture as well. But I even question, if these people are even voting, if it's just names that they want that they're obtaining so that they can sabotage these elections. But there's so much here. And that's why I wrote my books about the steal. I called it the steal because the election in 2020 never should have been certified. That's what it's all about. Just like this, you can't certify 5 million people on voter rolls that aren't citizens. I mean, it doesn't make sense. There's a lot more coming out. I can tell you that too, Eric. That's going to blow people away.
Joe, the small ball is we're wasting a lot of money. We're giving a lot of money to illegals who shouldn't be taking Social Security benefits, which they likely are, because that's why you need the Social Security card. But the big kahuna, so to speak, is that getting that vote. And that's really what it's all about. We've accused the left of the open border, the porous border, because they wanted people to come over and get the right to vote. And they're like, oh, you're racist. You're bigots. Yeah. And this is what it's all about. You don't have to, as we point out, make it legal. And by all means, come on in. Just keep it legal.
Right.
Final thought.
Right. Make it legal. I mean, my wife is from overseas. She came here legally. It took us a few years to get it all worked out, and we did it legally, and she can vote today, and we're fine with that. That's why the laws were in place. What these guys have been doing, Biden, was the destruction of America using illegal practices to twist the votes, and it's terrible. There's a lot more stuff that's going on with our elections that needs to be addressed, but this was really good, really great.
We're going to dig into it further. Joe, really good having you on, and love the Gateway Pundit. It's just awesome. Good to see you again, my friend. Appreciate your time.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
All right, folks, we'll be back in 2.5 minutes. Washington, D.C. Capitol building there, folks. That's the front side. The back side it's really beautiful on the back side. The Speaker's office is on the back side, has a massive balcony, a terrace along the back side of the Capitol. You can see literally past the Washington Monument to the White House from that terrace. And I'll never forget the day I went to see John Boehner, who loved to smoke, and outside on his little patio, I went to see him out there, and he had a planter about this 3 feet wide. You can take my shot here. It was about this big, a planter, 3 feet in diameter, and it was filled up with cigarette butts. John Boehner likes smoke. So if there are two ways to tell someone is un-American, and there are, either they're a Democrat or they'll actually tell you.
Elon Musk has got to go!
So this isn't just about waving a pride flag next to an American flag. By the way, that's just un-American in itself, almost unconstitutional. No, this is the kind of un-American that we haven't seen in a long time. This isn't just opposition. This is some sort of bloodlust rage.
Dear Elon, I doubt you'd want to come face to face with me, boy. You're your boyfriend, no doubt.
She's some looker, huh? That's not just un-American. I don't even know what that was. Protests used to be signs and marching and chanting slogans. It used to be placing a freaking flower into a soldier's gun calling for peace. It's very, very American to voice your dissent. It's protected in the First Amendment, in fact. But what we're seeing now across America distinctly is not American. This is blind fury and violence and rage, dangerous and vicious. These people are obsessed with rage, so much so that they don't even understand what or why they're doing what they're doing. Maybe they're being paid for it. And those are the most dangerous people to deal with. They're not just boycotting Teslas. They're actually going to hurt you if you already have one. And these people fall into one of two groups. Those who actually believe that Elon Musk is Hitler, which is wild, but not unbelievable given the extent of Trump derangement syndrome that exists in the country. They either believe Elon is Hitler and must be stopped, or they just like breaking stuff. They're crashing into Teslas. They're keying Teslas. They're kicking cars, beating Teslas. And here's the thing. Some of them don't even know why they're doing it. Some of them are outright hired. They're paid to do it. They're paid to dance outside of a Tesla dealership like clowns. Look at that. A lot of pride flags going on there. A lot of colors, right? And they go right home at noon when they're clocked out. So who's hiring them? Well, let's understand why this cause is so important to those who are paying for all of it. Elon Musk held a rally in Green Bay, Wisconsin. He was there to support conservative Wisconsin Supreme Court candidate Brad Schimmel. We've talked about this all-important race on the show. And Musk walked out wearing a cheese head. He signed it and launched it into the cheering crowd. And then he asked the question I'm asking here today. Listen.
Isn't it shocking how much violence and hatred is coming from the left? I mean, isn't it supposed to be the party that they claim to be the party of empathy, and yet they're burning Teslas and shooting up dealerships and calling for the death of the president and me? I'm like, guys, you know, this is insane. Like, they're totally gone psych.
Yep, very logical. And then Musk invited his friend and investor to the stage, Antonio Gracias. He's been helping Musk look into the Social Security system, and this is mind-blowing.
Non-citizens that are getting Social Security numbers.
Yeah, this is a mind-blowing chart.
Yeah, just this literally blew us away. Like, we went there to find fraud, and we found this by accident. And this isn't political, by the way. My parents are immigrants. Yeah, this country's been great to us. My brother and sister all born in Spain. I'm pro-legal immigration. This is not political. This is not political. This is about America and the future of America.
This is about the future of America. You're damn right it is, folks. This is the crime of the century. This means we were right. Yet another conspiracy theory that's neither conspiracy nor theory. We were right. That's why they hate him so much. Lust, so much vitriol against Elon Musk, vitriol and fury. This exposes Democrats. You realize what this actually means. 2.1 million Social Security numbers were issued to non-citizens in 2024. Biden. Folks, the Biden administration gave millions of Social Security numbers to illegal aliens, and some of those people actually voted in our elections illegally. Think about that. They also shared that more than 1 million migrants were already receiving government benefits, like Medicaid. That's what Americans should be enraged about. They should be enraged that our hard-earned tax dollars are being used dishonestly and illegally. They should be enraged that Democrats are so desperate to retain power and control that they would actually endanger their own country, men and women, to do so by keeping illegals here and paying for them, no less. But more than that, I never, ever, ever want to hear again that saying that they're trying to replace Americans with illegals just is simply a conspiracy theory, or Tucker made it up. Soros-owned Obama Democrats have been hard at work with our money, actively making it happen. And that's why the people who are organizing and funding a way to end all of it, they're fighting so hard against Elon Musk, against President Trump, who are helping them get it done. These people should all be incarcerated by the likes of these two Democrat jackals who loved each other but loved putting away criminals more once upon a time. Mueller and Biden. You know, we didn't know it at the time, but when President Trump came down that escalator in Trump Tower and announced he was running for president back in 2015, he did something tremendous. He exposed the un-Americans, little by little. First, those within his own party. He exposed the rhinos, the deep state swampsters. He produced this little gem right here from nearly 10 years ago.
This is a tough business to run for president.
I know you're a tough guy, Jeb.
And we need to have a leader that is real tough. You're never going to be president of the United States by insulting your way to the presidency.
Let's see, I'm at 42 and you're at 3, so far I'm doing better.
Doesn't matter.
So far I'm doing better.
Nipped that Bush dynasty right in the bud, didn't he? And when he was done exposing his own party for what they were, rhinos, and what they were not, then he moved on to exposing everyone else for the next 9 years. The fake dossier, the accusations, the fake impeachments, the lawfare against them. Little by little, President Trump exposed the deep state, the Democrats, the three-letter agencies. But the level to which President Trump has exposed the left and their blind rage, which, by the way, is so powerful it crosses the ocean into Europe, all the way over to Italy. But to see Americans attacking their own, defending illegals rather than our own, what we're seeing has nothing to do with this country. There are two ways to tell if someone's un-American. Well, either they're Democrats or they will tell you. And folks, they're telling us each and every single day, unfortunately. Okay, don't forget, check out my podcast and YouTube page, which are both updated daily and lets you hear the show, but also tons of new content anytime, anywhere, whenever you want it. Be sure to subscribe to YouTube and the podcast so you don't miss out. We will be back in 2 minutes with Steve K. Bannon. Now look at that. Now that is a beautiful sight. That's Miami. That's Brickell. Right. That's the entrance. This river. It's like a water from the ocean into inland. It goes down Brickell, separates Miami from the Brickell Key area. It's so beautiful right down there. A bunch of restaurants. Just a lovely, lovely place. The only problem with Miami is getting there and getting out of Miami. It's worse than New York now, traffic-wise. All right, folks, let's bring in our good friend Steve Bannon, who we missed on Friday. I was like, where's our Bannon? Where's Bannon? He wasn't here. He was, too busy doing something else. Mr. Stephen Bannon. Here's the question I have for you. Last night, I'm watching, and I see this gaggle that Trump gives on Air Force One at Joint Base Andrews in D.C. after he leaves West Palm, and he's saying things that are very disturbing and very concerning. Number one, Zelensky now thinks that he's going to hold NATO over this minerals deal again somehow, and Trump says it's going to end badly. And also that Putin, it didn't seem to be going well with Putin either. What do you know? What do you think? What do you hear?
Well, I think with Putin, the rapprochement there, I think that Putin and the Russians have to see that Zelensky and these guys are falling in line. I mean, Zelensky's coming back and retrading us on the minerals deal, which, as you know, Eric, we're not big fans of anyway. I think the president's actually doing a solid for Zelensky and the people in Ukraine. You know, we've already done $250 million. or $250 billion. I would also strongly recommend, Eric, that you and everyone in your audience read the New York Times piece on the American military and CIA involvement in the Ukraine war. That is absolutely, you'll be gobsmacked. It's unbelievable. Essentially, the Ukrainian, according to the New York Times, the Ukrainians supplied the manpower and the bodies, and we controlled everything essentially from, from a German military base, American military base in Germany, Wiesbaden.
That we were,
and Milley knew about it.
Are they saying that
and ran the war?
That we were running the Ukraine portion side of the war, that they were involved.
We were,
and we were funding it.
Wow. This is not this is not a proxy war. When you read this article, it's Jack Posobiec. I was on the phone with him this afternoon talking it through, and he said it was like a coalition war. It was not a proxy war. Way too much direct American military involvement in this. And Zelensky right now, I always said from the beginning he's going to be the hardest part of this deal because he's going to keep making demands. President Trump said at first he doesn't have any cards. I just wouldn't tolerate this. I tell him, here's what we're going to do, guys. Fall in line and then get Witkoff and the president with the Russians, and let's have the rapprochement, which will settle down the situation in Persia, the situation in southern Arabia, in Gaza, in Ukraine, and that ought to be done sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Just you got in any negotiation, you got to be able and willing and ready to walk, and that's how you don't get your ass handed to you, so to speak. Steve, Doge, they want to go to the CIA. I'm over a barrel here. The CIA, I think I think they're corrupt. They've been corrupted. Is there a need for a CIA going forward?
I think you need an intelligence service. We have to definitely restructure the FBI and the CIA. I think you take them down to the bolts and to the deck plates, and then you rebuild both of them. The FBI would take away the counterterrorism, the counterintelligence, and put it in a different institution, different organization. CIA, I would definitely rethink, particularly a lot of the operatives that's been out of control. I would also release millions of documents from the CIA. I think people would see the deep state just kept it secret or top secret or above to keep it away from the American people. I don't know if I support Doge going in there right now. I would like to see Doge, not that Doge should not do that, but for the waste, fraud, and abuse, we need to have Doge come back with numbers that everybody can agree on are actually going to be cut. And then Russ Vought has got to go in and impound that money. Remember, by approving the CR, we knew we made a Faustian bargain by basically approving Biden's budget. It's now time to get the real math, what's really been cut, have Russ Vought either do an impoundment or have the House do a rescission. We got to stop messing around with this thing. And I think they've done Social Security, some other entities like that. Let's get the real numbers everybody can agree upon is fraud, and then let's impound what's going on. And then if it's fraud, let's go. I want to see fraud. I want to see the fraud people's names given over to the FBI and the Justice Department. Let's prosecute them immediately.
Right. Let's have perp walks, legit perp walks. It doesn't matter what if they vote R or D, perp walk them. Get them. That's how you stop it. This guy in Wisconsin last night said, part of the Doge group said they found 2.1 million illegals had Social Security cards, and in some cases voting, and other times receiving benefits. It's out of hand, Steve. Well, if that's what I want to do is make sure we verify that. Let's get it to Russ Vought. Let's verify it quickly. Let's take a couple of weeks to verify it. We don't even need to chase the false voter rolls now. We must do that, but let's get the money first of what happened there with these Social Security numbers. Let's cut it off, and then let's send FBI agents or local law enforcement to each one of these folks and arrest them for fraud. Got an idea. Let's go start rounding people up. Those 87,000 IRS agents that Biden hired, don't fire them. Just swear them in, call them FBI agents, and let them go after this stuff and get some dirt on these folks. I'll turn it over to you, my friend. It's your hour. Missed you on Friday. Eric, I went to Colorado to give a speech to the great GOP there on Friday. For timing, I had to miss it, but man, my day didn't seem fulfilling unless I'm doing a handover, unless you're handing the show over to me. No, it's like a relay race. It's all good. We got it. Eric Bolling. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.